Hey everyone, welcome to a new video. I hope you had a great day. Let's take a look at some new prorevenge stories.
The first story is called I'm a Helper. About 6 or 7 years ago, I was trying to enlist in the military, but I ended up not joining. At this point, I was led to believe I was about 4 months away from leaving for boot camp. I was running out of savings and need a part-time job for some spending cash while I waited around. So, I did what any enterprising 20-something would do, and searched Craigslist for jobs. I normally hate sales jobs, especially those based on commissions. But I figured it would be a great way to earn some extra cash short term. I found a few job listings that looked promising and put out some applications. A few days later, I received a call from David. He was opening up a new store and needed associates. He liked my resume and asked if I'd be available for an interview on Friday morning. I was very upfront with him and let him know that the distance was a bit more than I'd normally drive for a retail job. So I asked what he was offering for an hourly rate to see if it was worth the drive. He told me that they were planning on offering an hourly rate of around $15 along with commission. This seemed like an okay deal, so I agreed to be there Friday at 8 a.m. Friday arrives as a cold, rainy day. I wear a nice shirt and tie and drive in heavy traffic to the address David provided. I knew the area from a previous job and eventually found the strip mall I was looking for. However, I'm not seeing any signage for the company name that was listed. There is, however, one empty space with no signage and 2 people inside. Okay, maybe they haven't gotten the store set up yet, no big deal. I had arrived early, knowing how bad traffic can be in that area. While in my car, I witnessed a young lady in business casual dress remove a sign from the window stating, "Retail space for rent." Okay, a little weird, but maybe it's the first day in the space. I walk in about 5 minutes early, and immediately my alarm meter goes from yellow to the highest level. The tables are all simple plastic folding tables. The kind college kids buy while on a shopping trip to Target. The walls are plastered with laminated charts featuring tons of dollar signs, smiling faces from stock photos, and an organizational chart showing an all-too-familiar shape. A pyramid. Alright, might as well have fun for a while to wait out traffic going home. The young lady in the dress approaches me, introducing herself as Cindy. She welcomed me to company name and asked me to have a seat. She sat at her desk, another plastic table, and pretended to go through paperwork. However, she was really just shuffling papers around. We get to chatting, and I ask her how long she's worked for David. She says she's been his secretary for about 6 months and that I'm going to love it here. Eventually, a guy walks out of the back office. He was in his early 30s, clean cut, wearing an ill-fitting suit. As he is walking over, all smiles, Cindy says, "Hey Dennis, our newest recruit is here." The guy stops in his tracks and gives her a cold stare. "It's David, Cindy, we've been over this." He turns back to me and gives me his brightest, hard to find good help these days, smile. David sits me down and welcomes me, saying they are going to start with a group interview, and has me sit down in a circle of chairs. Eventually, more people come in and sit down. David gets up and begins to thank us all for coming. He tells us about an exciting new opportunity. He pulls out a set of knives and explains how with his company we can make as much money as we want, all while setting our own hours. He even pulls out a textbook, saying about how this company's revolutionary tactics have even been featured in college textbooks. He opened to a page, his hand covering parts of it, making sure we can all clearly see the name of the business in large letters on the page. Sad to say, a lot of the other interviewees were very impressed by this. One pregnant girl seemed very excited that she could work around her pregnancy. David was going on and on about how much money he's made and how hard workers will rise to the top quickly. At this point, David said he needed to take a quick phone call and gave us 5 minutes to have some coffee, chit-chat, whatever. As he stepped away, he left his college textbook behind, a big mistake. So I pick it up, find the earmarked page, and read. As I thought, it was all about pyramid schemes and it had the name as one of the largest examples. It goes on to talk about how these are essentially scams and not economically viable. So, I decide to share this all with the group. I explain how pyramid schemes work, and how he's just scamming us. They seemed incredulous, so I said, when David gets back, to ask him about what we need to pay to get started. That finally got everyone to realize what was going on. David walks in a few minutes later, and one of the girls in the group asked David what we need to get started. "Well, all you need is your first set of knives to demonstrate. You can sell that one directly or have them order one and keep that as your demo kit. Doesn't matter, you just have to pay the startup fees for it." And that's when chaos broke loose. One kid started to get up and tell him to go screw himself, saying he's wasting our time and he's a giant jerk for trying to pull this. The pregnant girl is crying because she thought she found a place that would allow her to work despite being pregnant. David is clearly confused and flustered and asking who told them all this. When it becomes apparent I'm the wrench in the machine, David gets upset and starts telling me to leave. People are yelling at David, David is yelling at me, Cindy is trying to tell everyone she never met David before today and didn't know what this was. Eventually, we all walk out, leaving David behind. As I'm walking to the door, I see, leaning against the wall, the sign that was in the window before. As I get into my car, I dial the number. Eventually, I get through to a person and ask about the property for rent at the location of David's company. The nice lady on the phone apologized, saying they had just leased that property out. I asked if she knew how long the lease was for, as I was really interested in the property. She said she wasn't sure, they hadn't done the official paperwork yet. They were on their way to the space to sign everything with the leaseholder in a few hours. I told her everything that had just happened to me, and about David using the space for a pyramid scheme. She got extremely upset, saying that this stuff happens all the time in the industry. They will go to sign and last minute, the leaseholder will decide to opt out after using it for some fly-by-night operation. She thanked me for the info, and I thought that was the end of that. Or so I thought. A few weeks later, I received an email from David, telling me how I ruined his life. About how the property management found out what was going on, and weren't refunding his down payment on the space. Saying he violated a clause in the paperwork he signed to hold the property. How he knew I was the one who called because I'm a terrible human being. Now he was out thousands for the space and supplies, how he only wanted to give us jobs and help us. It was a long, very angry email, with several things said about me and my mother. So I called the lease number again, spoke with the same lady I did before, and she was very interested in an email from David where he essentially admitted to what he was trying to do. She said it would help them all in the legal proceedings. And, don't you know, I was more than happy to send that email along to her. Her lawyer said it should be an open and shut case at that point. I like to think I'm a helper. The last story is called, How to Deal with Noisy Neighbors. I moved out on my own in 2013 and moved into an old house converted into a 2-floor apartment, directly across from my future in-laws. The downstairs neighbors were loud. They were blaring music at all hours, wouldn't cut the grass or take out the trash on our shared schedule. Just bad neighbors, but they never bothered me directly. The guy was pretty chill when sober and would turn the music down a little when I texted him. He was okay until his girlfriend moved in. Now add shouting matches to the mix, and all of the sudden, my requests to turn down the music makes him turn it up. I can barely walk on my super thin floor without her banging on the ceiling with a broom. I was okay since I am a heavy sleeper and could sleep through anything. My wife moved in, and I quickly found out that she is quite the opposite. I told her that we can't expect them to remain silent when she's ready for bed, we need to be reasonable, but the wall-rattling music needs to stop during the night. She hated it during the day, but I told her there's nothing we can do then, so she would go to her parents' house a lot during the day. I talked to neighbor guy, he said, yeah man, that's cool, but it turns out the girlfriend wasn't having it and his attitude then changed to, yeah, well, it's our house, so you can't tell us what to do and you can move out if you don't like it. Something definitely had to change once she was pregnant, and then the baby came. So, I did the only thing I could do. I fought fire with fire, and maliciously complied with the law. I could only report them for noise after 11 p.m. I now forget the morning hour when the noise could start, but I believe it was 9 a.m. My dad has these huge old concert speakers in his garage. Professional grade, black leather bound, 5 feet tall and 3 feet wide, and a pretty nice, vintage amplifier. He has 2, but my apartment was so small I sadly only had room for 1. We replaced our coffee table with this thing, laid face down onto our thin, office carpet. Tired of his stupid tunes, I tested this device when they weren't home. I had to take everything down from tables, counters, and shelves because they would shake off. I prepared audio files to feed the stereo. I was giddy like a kid with a new Christmas toy. I turned it on when I left for work and got my wife up to send her to her parents. I came home from work and hung out with her parents until it was close to bedtime. They resisted for 3 days. This poor old house rattled in ways I didn't think possible. The vibrations from the sine wave would make your vision blur. I eventually got a text from him that read, "Sorry man, you can stop now." I did not. He needed a few more days to let it sink in. Plus, I had so much fun putting it together. They complained to the police and the landlord. But there was nothing they could do since I wasn't doing anything wrong. I didn't even hear music during the time of peace to follow, it was so quiet. They would build up their courage and try again every few weeks when I wasn't home, but my wife was. I then showed her how to tame the beast so she could let it loose while I was away. They were so happy when we moved out.
Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel for more content. I hope you have a great day. Bye bye.